Hey guys, it's Hannah, and it's that time of year. NRPA is coming up, and it's in Philly this year, 2026. We cannot wait to see you at our meetup, and we also have our limited edition t-shirts that are sponsored by our friends at Next Practice Partners, national leaders and innovators in park system planning, training, and technology. But hurry! Orders close Monday, September 7th. You can pick up your new swag in person at our meetup, or we do offer a shipping option after conference is over. Order yours today. RecLessPod.com. See you soon.
This episode of RecLess is brought to you by Rec Technologies, the recreation management system built for parks and rec in an AI-powered world. Rec Technology knows what it's like. Clunky system, endless workarounds, and software that fights you at every step. That's not what Park and Rec is about. We're all about serving our community, but somehow we feel like we're stuck in the past, and sometimes our technology makes things harder. Well, Rec wants to change that, and they believe that your software shouldn't feel like a second job. Built by leaders from Uber and Google, Rec combined modern technology with powerful AI to make registration and discovery simpler for residents and day-to-day work easier for all the staff. That means fewer headaches on registration days, less time wrestling with spreadsheets, and more time for the work that matters. It's recreation management that makes it more fun and powers more play across your community. Don't miss them on Wednesday, September 30th at 1:15 when they join OpenAI in the Glenview, Illinois Park District to explore practical, real-world ways that parks and rec teams can use ChatGPT. They'd also love to meet you at the RecLess Social on Tuesday, September 29th. To learn more, visit recreation.ai. Now, let's get the show started.
Welcome to Season 6 of RecLess, the podcast making you smarter about the field of parks and recreation. Your hosts are Shane Mize, Jay Tryon, and Tom Venniro, three professional friends, if you know, from around the country, bringing you a surprise guest each episode. This project has made an impact, educates others, and continues to support a growing community. Thank you for being part of it. This is RecLess.
What up?
What's up, mi amigo? How you doing?
Hold on, I gotta switch to my headphones.
Yeah, don't get Hannah mad at you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me? What about now? I can hear
We're
you.
good. Let's go. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah. Start without Tom.
Okay.
So scrimmage Saturday now, is that better or worse for you? Do you like a Saturday scrimmage or does it just eat up your day?
I would have preferred it stay today.
Yeah.
Just to give me, we already have a birthday party tomorrow morning for Piper, so it's
Dude,
just like
your Saturdays is what Hannah and I experienced like 10 or 12 years ago. Like you have no
we have
autonomy of any.
we have a 10:30 birthday party. Then we have this scrimmage that's at 6. He's got to be there at 5. Sunday, he has football at 4:30 on one team and 6:30 at another team. So it's just like, it would have been better today.
Yeah, absolutely. There were times, I think I've said this on the podcast. What's up, Tom?
What's up, guys?
I am terrible at pop culture, and the Game of Thrones thing was going strong, and every one of my staff were talking about it. And I was just an Uber driver for the family. Like I'd get home every night and take one kid to soccer, one kid, and I'd just sit there, pick up another one, drop them off. So while I was sitting around, I tried to watch the first season of Game of Thrones just so I could feel like I was knowing what was going on. It was so batshit crazy. People were burning up. Things were, it just wasn't my scene. But you literally are just sitting up there for an hour and you're like, well, I got 45 minutes now. Let's see if I can.
Well, I feel like an Uber driver all the time.
Yeah.
It's a great analogy.
Tom will get there.
Nah, we're just going to stick to Pokemon.
That's smart. That's smart. Well, y'all good? Y'all ready?
Kids are at a playground right now, but they'll be back.
We're not going to see any naked bodies in the back.
You never know.
Hey. It's a whole
Speaking of playground, I got a story to tell you later, Tom.
All right. Welcome to RecLess, everybody. My name's Shane. These are my two close friends, Tom and Jay. Jay, how you doing, buddy?
I am great, man. Happy to be here and looking forward to this guest that you've been hyping up all week.
This will be good. Tom, you excited, buddy?
I'm super excited. We got Punch today.
Punch. Does that make any reference? Does that elicit anything for you?
I feel like it should, but
I think it'll connect. Jay won't connect at all, if that helps you any.
So I actually do have a
it
reference
feels
to
very
it,
Do you
Disney.
really?
I don't know why.
but it's probably not the same reference.
No, it's not your gardener, Jay. Punch the gardener. Is that what you're thinking?
Definitely not.
Okay, well, before we get to my guest, who we've kicked around all over the place, so I am very excited to have him on. I got our opening question, and I think it'll be a good one. I'm excited about this. I was talking to Hannah about it as well. So Hannah's been doing more and more leadership, and we've got to see her interact through that. And she just got back last night. She was gone for 4 days, and we were talking last night. And leadership's lonely at times. It's incredibly rewarding, but it's sometimes really challenging, and it's at times can be lonely. And I think y'all have experienced all those and then some, right? We've talked about imposter syndrome and everything else. I think what we know for sure is people are always looking up to us, and maybe not in the same way, but they're looking to us for direction, looking to us for support or whatever, and then also looking up to us at times. And I think we're evaluated and judged in a leadership capacity in a pretty unique way. And I think there are times that there is something that we all do in leadership that from the outside probably looks mundane. It might even be somewhat oblivious to a lot of people. Like it's not something that just pops in your leadership profile, but it is, in your belief, I believe, very important to what you do as a leader. It's just probably something that kind of flies under the radar. And I'd love to hear what that is for y'all, because I think it's probably different for all of us.
Well, I got one that I can actually. I'll go first, even though I wasn't the question asker.
No, I love
it, which is rare. And the reason is, you said
I love that you connected that quickly with it too.
I did, and the reason was just the last few days. It was just a microcosm of it all. But I think some of the leadership profile items that we look at traditionally, they are right up front. What the detriment of the person is, what their strengths are, what their demeanor is. And so we all have identities that way. What I think goes a little bit unnoticed and maybe underappreciated, and not maybe, definitely underappreciated, is the juggling act of leadership. And just these last few days, if I could show you guys my cell phone log, the amount of phone calls that have been coming in or going out, some planned, most of them not. It takes a certain mentality, and it could be stressful. It's a lot of weight on your shoulders. And when these things pop up and you're constantly zigging and zagging in every which direction you could imagine, you have to be able to stay steady. You have to still be able to keep your eye on the prize and understand the direction you're going, and you can't let it bog you down. Yeah. And I think that's definitely, I can't speak for the two of you, but I can only imagine
the juggling act of leading. Yeah.
You are feeling that you are juggling so many different balls at one time. Just yesterday, I'll just tell a quick story and let you guys move on. Just yesterday, I'd come back in from a department head meeting, and there's a note on the desk. I went through most of the summer without a lot of elevated questions from programming. It's winding down. There's a few sports camps that are week long, and we got a call. It was on my desk. Someone not very happy about a volleyball camp, of all things, a volleyball camp. And the message says, wants this elevated to leadership immediately. You didn't expect that phone call. And then you have to make that phone call, and you have to handle the situation after whatever comes from the conversation. And then the next thing you know, you're moving on to something else. Then obviously for us, if you add in items like professional development, this podcast, Jay and I were on the phone yesterday at 5:30. So that's our, dinner time or chauffeur Uber time, whatever. For Jay, he was entering at that exact time. He was about to enter a council meeting.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that goes unnoticed, underappreciated, and it's a huge part of leadership.
That's an interesting observation, and it's astute too, because we hear people ask these questions a lot of times, sometimes in interviews, like, oh, you've got this, and this. How do you prioritize it? And the answer is you do all of them, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, safety, maybe being safety, and you've got to answer the question. They're trying to learn your thought process as a leader. But unlike what I believe some departments could probably say, we only focus on this and we get to that other one later. That's not how Parks and Rec serves. Like, you got to do all of them, and you have to find that pathway to do all of them. You are juggling. And when you juggle every ball or object that you're juggling gets the same amount of care when it touches the hands and gets looped in. Like there is not, even if one's heavier, I've seen someone juggle like a heavier bowling ball, but then a lighter thing, but they're still getting the same repetition in some way. Like it all gets the same care. So I love that. That's really
and you got to pause to keep
insightful.
I appreciate that. And you got to pause to keep that bowling ball, the heaviest one that you're working on and you're driven. You got to pause time, and that's got to stay up in the air at some point or for some amount of time so that you
It
can.
takes more whip on that
Yes.
point and less
Yes.
on the other, but you have to
100%.
balance it all. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jay, you want me to go or you got it?
No, I think I got something that is
I can go.
relevant. Okay. I was gonna go, but if you want
Well,
to
you
go,
said you think, so I didn't want you to feel like you had to push it if you
no,
weren't ready.
like I have something, but I just don't know like how connected it is to this topic. But it's something that I struggled with potentially in a way that others have maybe struggled, so that there's this connection point of, I came into Concord and there were some silos, and I think every department has a silo of like, this is like our division has it done this way, and we kind of stay in our lane and like we do it because we're good at doing it, or we good because we have our own team that does it, or whatever it may be. But I think from a leadership perspective, it's always important to like make sure people are always understanding like the big picture. I've had some conversations with one of our divisions here that they have a phenomenal team, they get it done, like they rely on one another, but they don't always like pull other resources that they could to make sure like we're getting back to that like big picture. On one hand, you want your staff to be independent and you want them to be empowered and you want them to feel like they can, make all those decisions and do their job, which is phenomenal. And that means that you're doing a good job as a leader. But it also needs to come back to like the big picture of what your department is trying to accomplish, and making sure that everyone understands the big picture, making sure that everyone understands what each is doing, instead of like, oh, we got this covered. Like, I don't need your help with it, or don't need this other division because like we can handle it. And it's not that there's ever a doubt of you handling it, but it's also just making sure everyone understands their roles and understands that we're here together as a team.
So yours is the connective tissue. Understanding parks connects to rec or whatever. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, because, and that's the thing is like, we're so ingrained with everyone's day to day that like I got 5 different divisions, and like in some capacity, they all intertwine. Not every day, not on maybe even a regular basis, but in some shape or form, they will cross paths and they need to understand each other. And individually, they all do their job phenomenally.
Right.
But as a leader, we need to connect them so that we understand and they understand, like, hey, I may need this from you at some point. I don't need it now, but if I do need it, like this is the process that we take, and this is the support that I'll need. So I think just getting that done, and it links into what Tom was talking about with juggling, because we need to make sure that people know each other's needs and understand like what may be called from them at some point.
Yeah, Jay, I like that a lot. That's really great insight too. And I was going to say it ties right back into the juggling piece, because sometimes as leaders, and we feel the brunt of this if it doesn't happen, we have to close the loop.
Yeah.
It's our job to an extent. I think at times we expect all the other branches or silos to know what's going on to that point, but that's a real hard ask. And so there are times where and that's a struggle too, because there's times where I've missed closing that loop, and then it's on you.
Yeah. Those are both great, and mine will be different, which I love about this podcast in some ways. I thought of this, when I was talking to Hannah, but it come up a couple weeks earlier. Once a month, we get anyone that manages someone, we get them in a room once a month in our city. So it's a big meeting. It's the city's leadership meeting, and it's management level and above. And there's 50 or 60 people in there. And we're just trying to make sure that we're sharing resources. It's usually an hour, just kind of sharing some high level stuff. And a gal that's fairly new into her role as a manager in a different department, while we were just sitting there waiting for it to start, said, y'all are always so busy. Parks are always so busy. And she goes, how do you manage it all? Because you have a bigger department to me, and you're doing more things to me, and you have more staff out in the field than I do, and you seem to handle it okay. And I was like, well, this is your first year, and it's my 8th doing this type of thing as a director. And so I think you get more comfortable. I think we would all admit that as you go on. But I said somewhere along the way, I just figured out that my job is to do my job. And I have to let my staff do their job. I have said on this podcast at one time, I thought I was the best rec superintendent in the state, maybe the country. Like that's what I believed when I was in Missouri City. Like I'm as good at this job as anyone in the country is at being a rec superintendent. I really felt that way. So I could, in my insecurity as a leader and in Jonathan's insecurity as a rec superintendent, because at times he's been new into this role. He's done it 3 years now, but before when I hired him, I could have just done his job. Now it's not my job. It's not what the city expects me to do. And I could have done the thing that I knew I could do well and feel comfortable and confident that I was doing this one thing well, whether I was making presentations well to council or managing our budget. I could in my head have tricked myself into thinking I'm still doing a good job as a leader because I'm killing it over here as this de facto rec superintendent. But it doesn't grow Jonathan. Jonathan doesn't get the chance to be a good rec superintendent, doesn't get the chance to fail like I got to fail and grow like I got to grow. So I'm stunting his growth. I could have at times done Junior's job. I remember the first time Junior had to fire an employee, and I told him that I would take care of it because Junior did not want to let him go. I had no intention of firing his employee. And I know we probably differ this. I don't fire my staff. They do. Because when they hire them, I want them to think, man, that was such a brutal experience. I'm not just going to hire someone because Shane's going to bail me out. And so when Jonathan needs to let someone go, Jonathan lets people go. And that's tough for him. And it was been tough for Junior at times too at first. Now they're getting much better at it. But you can't just get to a director level. It'd be the first time you've ever had to let someone go. I think people need to learn that muscle memory. And so I let Junior think I was going to do it because I talked to Junior about his comfortability level and he said he didn't feel comfortable. And then I just called in sick that day. And Junior had to do it. And Junior called me an asshole. He said, I know what you're doing. And I was like, you're going to be fine. And I came in the afternoon. I was like, hey, I'm feeling much better. How'd it go? And but Junior didn't got it. Junior wouldn't have done it. And he would have thought about it and freaked out about it all week. And so then he got to do it. And I guess what I'm saying is I think in leadership, we can think whether we're captaining the ship or whatever, we're doing the race car, whatever, we can think every part of our job is that, like changing the tires and getting the helmet on the driver and making sure the oil and the engine and everything are good, but that's not necessarily our jobs. And I think I balance things by not knowing the budget. Jeff does it. And by not knowing the planning, Jeff does it. And there are very few meetings that I'm in that Jeff is also in. There's very few meetings that I'm in that Jonathan. There are very few meetings that Jonathan, Jeff, Junior, and I are all in the same meeting. Some, high level stuff, but I trust Jonathan. This Monarch Rec Center that we're opening up, Jonathan's in 80% of those meetings. And he's making decisions on an $80 million building, and whether it's hiring or what scaffolding. And if Jonathan's got a question or a concern or needs advice or coaching, King comes to me and I love it. But if I'm in that room, Jonathan's very likely to defer to me, even if I tell him not to. And so I think it's often overlooked, and it seemed to connect with her because she was really good at the role she had done previously. And as she was stepping into a leadership role, I think it would have felt very good to get wins by just doing the thing you're doing well or micromanaging the hell out of the person you were now managing. I think I just try to do my job and I stay out of their way. And, I'm obviously looking at where we're hitting. Are we hitting the mark? And we have accountability, but I'm not the person that plans our events. I'm not the person that makes the decisions on the rec center. And I think there are people in our field that probably struggle with that.
Well said. Before you get on to the guest, I do want to put one note onto that. It's not really related to the lesson that you just talked, but one really refreshing part of your story, to be honest, and this is, I'm sure a lot of people in Parks and Recreation can resonate, is that gal who came to you and said that she sees that from Parks and Recreation. I don't think a lot of other departments see that. Does that make sense to you guys? It's just Parks and Recreation. It's just the fun, In our department head the other day, our finance director said, hey, it's budget time, all this. Hey, just, if Parks and Recreation and Highway need more time than the rest of you, I'm going to grant them that time because their budget and their operation is so much larger. Mm-hmm. I don't feel that most of the individuals in that room see that or maybe even respect it. So credit to that individual who came to you and recognized.
For sure.
What I think to add to that, even if others recognize it, they may not admit it and say it out loud. So for her to say that was also like kudos to her for maybe acknowledging what we know, but others may not want to acknowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about it, but Parks and Rec, whether we have a bunch of people in our field that want to be city managers, I think it's as close to a city manager incubator as any other department silo individually. Now, if you've worked in planning and police and parks, well, sure, you probably are well equipped to be an ACM or city manager. But if you've only worked in one of those, we're going to be the ones that are outward facing, safety, policy planning. There's a lot that we're doing, staff management, budget, that not every other department has to worry about necessarily. So,
yeah.
Well, let's get to my guest. This shouldn't shock y'all, but my guest originally hails from the great state of Texas. They did their undergrad and master's at Sam Houston State, got their PhD from Washington State. Kevin Whitty would be a big fan of that. Has worked in academia in Texas, Washington, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Is currently a Hokie. Y'all remember what a Hokie was from our...
Was that Janet, Virginia?
There you go, Virginia Tech. Has a podcast, and to be honest, who the hell doesn't, right? Everybody's got a podcast or a garage band. But also has a weekly newsletter discussing everything from AI to protein powder. They have a goal, much like Mangum, but honestly a little more audacious in some way, to see 250 Division I stadiums across the country. They literally wrote the book on the economics of Parks and Rec, but not in the way you think. They are the Director of Undergraduate Studies and the Associate Professor of Economics at Virginia Tech University. Welcome our guest, Dr. Jadrian Wooten.
Thank you. That was really good. I like that, Shane.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for your patience with all this nonsense.
And listen, it's summertime for me, so it's very easy to bounce things around.
I love it. Although we were getting it close to where it was not going to be easy for you. Like, I think we bumped him a couple times. We had him like midsummer. He's like, man, I got every weekend you got. And then like the last one I said, I was like, you got 17th, 24th. He's like, school section starts. So we had to thread this needle. So guys, Dr. Wooten is an economics professor, not a Parks and Rec economics professor. I was looking for economics of Parks and Rec, and literally his book came up. His book, which I've gotten halfway through, and I think it's made me smarter, is teaching people economics through episodes of Parks and Recreation. He basically saw Parks and Rec as an incredible vehicle to teach people the basics of economics. I love the idea of economics. I love talking to people about economics. I think economists in some ways are temperature takers on everything that happens in society, right? And they quite frankly have an opinion on everything. So I don't know how much he's going to have information on Parks and Rec, but he will have information on what we should be doing and how that interacts with Parks and Rec in some ways. And I'm looking forward to it. So here's my first question. What is something, because we have a Parks and Rec audience, what is something our industry should probably take note of, not from a Park and Rec professional's standpoint, because we ask that all the time, but from an economist standpoint, either an upcoming trend or issue that you think on the outside should be something government, but specifically Parks and Rec should probably be thinking about and addressing?
And you set me up. That is a lofty question.
Boom.
That's, if I had to pick something that I think is maybe not something that is not like an economic trend. Right, people are strapped for cash, like budgets are crazy. Like you already know that. Like that's not new. I would take it from sort of what you should expect from the next generation. I spend every year with 18-year-olds in a first year principles course. Unfortunately, like I keep getting older and like they're still 18 and they are like every year.
That's the Matthew McConaughey. The Matthew McConaughey.
But not in the way that
not in that way. No, not that way. Yes. We should say that. Yeah, that's right.
Very, very much not in that way.
That's right.
But when I first started teaching, I was like, oh, we're really close in age. Like I completely understand what you're going through. And every year, man, I do not understand what they are doing. It is wild. So like if I had to pick something that would seriously impact you and your profession, is realizing what is going through the minds of 18 and 24-year-olds right now. And it is wildly different because they are maybe not using your facilities now, but you're hoping in 10 years that they will. Well, I mean, I think you probably hope that they do use your facilities. Their understanding of community is very different than what I grew up with. They are much more isolated than in the past. They are connected digitally. Just
Yeah.
they, if you ask them how many friends they have, I mean, yeah, some of you have kids. One of you has kids. Well, two of you have kids, right?
All of us have
All of
kids.
you have
Some of
kids.
them
All
aren't
of us.
kids anymore. Mine are all
That's okay. That's what it
adults.
was. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of the pieces I remember from the episodes I listened to on my drive this morning. In their mind, they have 1,000 friends. They
Mhm.
don't interact with any of them. They're
And
not
probably
doing
none of
things
them
with
are
friends.
local. Like it's a friend in Japan
Yes.
or a friend on a streamer or something. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so, right, it's
Wow.
they you are missing a connection but want a connection, and they largely feel like their time is completely sucked up with things. So like we sort of internally talk about like all the opportunities on campus, right? So I get the Parks and Rec version of like a campus where it's, they're doing intramural sports or we have speakers on campus. They have clubs, they have events, right? Like we're putting on things for students. Four people show up, and we go, "What are you doing?" Like we have free food, we have great speakers, you have cool opportunities, and if you ask them why they don't show up, I'm too busy, and we go, "What are you doing?" Because we know that AI has made their academic side a lot easier. They're not
Right.
studying as much,
Right.
so it's just this sort of weird like they all feel like they're very busy, but there are opportunities in front of them, and they're just not going to it. So I would say that is a trend that we talk about on campus with our events. I mean, we're trying everything, right? Do we do it during the day? Do we do it during the evening? Do we do it on the weekends? And it seems like no matter what we do, we just get fewer and fewer people showing up. And I will say that we have been very slow to change what we're doing, right? We're an institution just like y'all. Um, we've got to figure something out. We haven't done it yet.
But I would go out and say that's not just that age. I think everyone is
No.
just either maybe they say they're busier and we feel like we're busier. I know
Yes.
I feel I'm busier now than I was before, and that's partly because I have two kids and the kids keep me
Yeah.
busy. But in thinking about it in relation to our profession,
Mhm.
one thing that comes to mind is like we have these community meetings or we have an opportunity for the public to come out and share support or share their ideas for a future project or a future, bond or whatever it may be. And we're seeing less and less people like come. And maybe it's because they're too busy or maybe because the time is not right. But it's just like you think about the same thing that you just said is like you're trying to figure out every way to get that feedback, to get that information. And I don't know that I found the right answer. I don't know who knows the right answer to that, but obviously you try
Jay,
multiple times.
Jay, do you think they're just busier with busy work though? Because like my daughter, just to the point, and I hadn't even thought of it that way. My daughter's 18. She works a half day at GameStop, and the next day she says she needs a full day to recover. My dad would have boxed my head in if
Yeah.
I had that type of thing. But is it because as soon as she gets home, she's on YouTube till midnight or playing a game, and she is interacting and socializing on this Dungeons and Dragons game that she's playing till 3 a.m. But like, so I guess there's social aspect, but like, are they just keeping busier with stuff that doesn't?
100%. No, like I
Yeah.
agree with you. Like my 13-year-old, he's on summer break right now, and then I get home from work yesterday, and he's exhausted. I'm like, "What'd you do all day?" He's like, "I rode my bike with my friends, and I was this and." But like, you didn't really like do anything. Like you hung out with your friends,
Mhm.
but he's like, "I was so busy all day." Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
wait till you get a job and you're in college, and it's a totally different story. Obviously, what I just said doesn't necessarily like relate to like a question specifically, but I do have a question because I'm wondering like in that thought process that you were talking about from the student's perspective, like what can we do? And I don't know that there's an answer to this that you would have, but like, what do you think we can do to help not necessarily like prioritize time, but bring awareness to the benefits that we bring to either college students or any demographic so that they could understand that there should be time for recreation.
Listen, if you know the answer, I would love to hear this answer. The closest we have gotten, and it's just so counterintuitive to me as a person. Like, yeah, we're talking about the leadership stuff at the start, and like, the thing that keeps me busy is like I have a to-do list and a calendar, and like I need a list. And like at least what I'm seeing, they don't have that, right?
Yeah.
They're just sort of going day by day, week by week of doing stuff. So for us, what we have found that is the most helpful is just constant reminders. And that is so opposite of like who I am as a person. And so it's hard for me to flip in my mind, I send out an announcement that something happening in 2 weeks, and I go, put it on your calendar. They really do need a reminder of, hey, this is next week. Hey, tomorrow we're doing this. I feel like I'm annoying them because like I'm like I told you 3 times. Why do you need another reminder? But purely like that's the thing that when we are very successful, that's what they tell us is I really appreciated you told me 2 days later. I forgot. And then I remembered that I could go. So they've got a great like short-term memory of like a 48-hour window. And so I think a lot of it is just reminding them and saying, hey, tomorrow, don't forget, these are all the cool things you could do, even if you would have told them in a calendar or a newsletter a month before.
Is it easier for them to say no though as well? Like they're good at saying no. I don't know if they're protecting their time or their ability to not do anything, but it seems like my kids are better at saying no than I was too. Like if I was asked to go to something as a kid, I'd have been like, yeah, I'll go wherever. Let's try it. And I was an introverted kid. My kids say no to most things they're invited to.
I don't have a good answer for that. I mean, like when they say no to us, it's that they have something else going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just they're kind of going day by day and saying which of these things do I want to do, and they're if the other thing's more interesting, then they'll say no to they say maybe a lot. Like if we asked, are you going to this? Maybe is almost always the number one thing. So I think they're comfortable saying no, but it's just sort of day by day. What do I want to do this day, the next day, things like that.
Comfortable saying no. Like Tom, as a kid, I don't think we were that way. Like you just did it. Someone asked you to do something, whether it was your neighbor asked you to pick something up or your parents told you to do something or a coach told you to be somewhere. They weren't even really asking. It didn't feel like you were just like, yeah, okay, I'll be at the track, like.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a different era and it's a great conversation to have. And I just got one more question until maybe we move into some other areas related to the students. And I don't think and Jadrian, nobody has answers on how to really fully connect with the new generations because you're learning about them and they're growing into themselves too.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have, so I want to take this into the I guess the direction that we talk a little bit about multi-generational workplaces and leadership in those workplaces. And so I've had conversations with so many different individuals, whether it's, these two fine gentlemen here or the individuals on my own team or whatever. And I'm 42, so very hard to believe for everybody out there, but I'm 42. And when I have a 35-year-old to 40-year-old staff member, it's fairly easier to relate to those individuals because of upbringing, because of what other kind of commonalities we may have. And you said it earlier, I used to run summer camp. That's how I came up in this field, in this profession. And so over the years, I want to say the last time I was a camp director was one of my days in Chilai. So that was 2014 or so. So you're going back to about when I'm about 30 years old. And that was a tipping point, 30, 31, where I felt that the connection was starting to break down. There was always a real comfortability level in training with these 18 to 24-year-olds or however old they were. And you got a little bit closer to 30 and that started to break down a little bit. And now, I don't know about you guys, but I do try to make a point to meet all of the staff that we hire if I can. I try to say some words when they're going through their training. I try to visit the sites when possible. And if they're doing something great around and they're going above and beyond, if I can and I see them, I'll step outside of the office and thank them. They seem to respond to that fairly well. But where I'm going with this question is the classroom and work are somewhat mandatory in their lives. So they're not optional. It's not extracurricular for them. They kind of have to be there. There are consequences if they don't show up. So I'm just curious from your perspective. Now we're learning these individuals. I have a younger staff who's on the full-time level who you hit it on the head when this individual started, and they have come a long way in 2 years or so. Great individual, great team member. When we had our first review with that individual, they said to me, I really can use some constant reminders. Exactly what you said a few moments ago. And we just weren't used to that. We hadn't had a younger individual in those positions before, and this was a more full-time role. So can you talk about it from the classroom aspect? Because the classroom aspect, again, it's somewhat of a mandatory piece there. They have to succeed in order to get their degrees. I was an adjunct for about 5 years. And so it was tough. It was tough. And You have one of the hardest jobs in the world.
No,
So for
no,
us,
high school teachers have the
yeah,
hardest job in the world.
you know
Yeah.
what? Middle school
Not
too.
a chance. My job's easy compared to what K-12 teachers do.
It's a good point. They're paying for that, right? They're paying for
Yeah.
yeah. So I just, if you can give some advice to all of us who are hiring the same individuals, whether it's for summer camp, part-time roles during the summer,
Mhm.
or fresh coming out of college, what are some ways that you connect with them in the classroom in order to push them across the finish line?
Mm.
Yeah. So I will say I was when I first started teaching, I was a stubborn teacher because I was good at my job, and I sound like Shane, where I was like, I thought I was the best one. I was like, I'm great at this. I'm young. I'm energetic. And then the moment I realized that, I think that same gap where I was like, I'm not like them. I started asking high school teachers. I was like, what are you seeing in your classroom? What are you doing? Because I realized that like that's where they're coming from next. And as soon as I realized, I mean, they are so far ahead of me in terms of like what they're doing, how they're interacting with students, having to deal with anything that's facing the students. I just started copying what my high school teacher friends were doing, and then I became a much better teacher. And so I would say, like, if you know any high school teachers or middle school teachers, asking them about those, like, what are their processes for getting students to turn stuff in? Like, what are their frustrations? Once I understood what they were doing, it didn't necessarily change what I was doing, but I was able to like articulate the differences. So you probably, yeah, all of you are maybe are familiar with this. Like if your kid doesn't do well on a test, they can do test corrections and fix it. That to me, that's wild. Why would I do that?
It's it has changed so much since I was in school. I
Yes,
mean, I know I said it a minute ago. I got a 13-year-old, and like there were tests this year. He was in seventh grade, and like you don't do well, you can just take it again the
just
next
do it again.
day.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Crazy.
what is? I don't understand that. Like, but
Yes.
that's the new philosophy of teaching. But
Yes.
it makes
In high school,
no
not for us. Yes, in high
well,
school. Yeah.
yes, not in
Yeah.
college. But like it almost is counterintuitive because like I have no reason to prepare for a test if
Yes.
I know I'm just going to take it again. So why take the test? Why study? Why get
Yeah.
prepared for it?
Oh, and listen, the teachers will tell you the exact same thing. And so,
Or you get into college and then y'all are dealing with it because for the first time they
yes.
actually held accountable to something.
Well, and so what's so nice about it, and this is where I was going to go with this, is that understanding what they're used to in terms of the requirements helps me change the expectations in
Sure.
college. Because I can then say, like, before they ever take the test, I can say, hey, you're not getting test corrections. You get one shot.
Mm.
And like, that is enough for them to go, wait a second. Like, I'm using the language that they're familiar with from sort of their past work experience. Whereas before, I used to just say, hey, this is a really important test. You need to do well. And what ended up happening was I was getting, hey, can I do test corrections? And I go, no. I
Because
just
they're
kept going,
using
like,
your words
they're
against
used
you.
to
They're
it.
like, you said
Yes.
it was important,
Yeah.
so I need to
Yes.
retest now. Like,
And in my mind, I was like, where are you coming? Like, why do you think you can do this? And then I realized that, like, yes, that's what they do. And so I think using that same sort of language of like, hey, something is coming up that's really important that I need you there for, you're not going to get to do this again. And just trying to find the ways of the things that they're using in their classrooms and then turning it into the sort of the work environments. Like, I need you to turn this in. I need you to do this project. You don't get, there's not going to be corrections after we turn it in. Turn it in to me early. We can correct things. I think that helps a ton. Just because at least from and most of mine is the high school level because I'm getting them right out of high school. A lot of teachers are doing the same thing over and over. So their history teacher is doing the same stuff that their math teacher is doing, the same stuff that their English teacher is doing. And when you hire them, you're the weird one, right? You're the new thing for them. And I mean, it's challenging and they don't know exactly what the expectations are. They're so used to being told exactly what to
Yeah.
do. And
Yeah.
I've learned that I need to do it, right? Like if I want them to do a good job, I need to adapt to them. I can't expect them to adapt to me.
And
So that's helped a ton.
I think you nailed it. You said it so well. That's without even before answering before asking the question, that wasn't my intent, but that makes me think of again this experiences I've had recently, and then we've talked about this before on the show, seeking to understand before being understood. There's a lot of stubborn individuals out there, and you get someone in a role, and you're going to say, I need it done this way,
Mhm.
this time, all of that. And there has to be some rigidity. We have to have deadlines. We have to get the job done, so to speak. But as a leader, our job is to understand these individuals. It's not a one-way street.
It's fascinating because the assumptions that happen in communications are sometimes the reason communication breaks down. And you saying this is important, the unspoken at that time is you saying, this is important, but you're also saying, I'm not letting you test again. You should prioritize this. Don't overlook this. This is something that's going to affect your grade. What they heard was this is important. And the building off what they knew is something that was important in high school. I got to take it again and again and again until I elevated to its importance. And so then saying this is important, it's so important, and I'm not letting you retake a test again. It's like triggering okay, now that's what that means. That's fascinating. I think what's interesting about, and I have them. I've got Jadrian, I have an 18-year-old fixing to be 19. I got a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 25-year-old. Is what I've observed, not only managing those types of people, that age of people, and we get them almost earlier than anyone because we get them as lifeguards and camp counselors. And I've always told my city, we're the first interaction with government, the newest generation, whatever it is, whatever wave of that generation comes in, we get to interact with them. PD doesn't have 16-year-old staff members. Finance doesn't have 16-year-old staff members. Maybe a library will have a volunteer, but we're getting it before almost anyone. And so first of all, we're exposed to their idiosyncrasies of some way or another, but we also get to show them what government is in some ways. And so I think what I've been interested about with my own kids and what I've observed is they look at, and I wrote this down while you were talking, they look at traditional institutions that we all had reverence for at one time or another, 100% different. I'm talking about marriage. They don't necessarily feel like they need a sheet of paper. They'll just do it, or they hang out. They just they common law it in some way. They almost eventually just, come, but they don't want, they may even call themselves married, but they never actually did the paperwork part. Social interactions, they look at that totally differently than we have all looked at. I'm a huge soccer fan, Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur coaches have had to download WhatsApp, because that's how they tell the guys. And you're right. I didn't even think of it till you say it. They have practice every day at a certain time. What do they get on WhatsApp for? So all the players, they can say, reminder, tomorrow at 9 a.m. is practice. These are professionals making millions of dollars. And but they're also 18, 19, 20 years old. And they're also from 3 or 4 different parts of the world. You've got a South African striker and a South American midfielder, and they barely speak the same language. And so the assumption is everyone knows 9 a.m. is 9 a.m. no matter what. And in some world, 9 a.m. is a target, not a deadline. It's try to get there around 9. But in some businesses, it's very important to be there early, not on time. And so they're communicating that through WhatsApp. And community, how they volunteer, money, success, ambition is totally different. Shopping, they have completely changed how we shop. I used to be able to go into a store and touch a sleeve, and I don't get to do that. I have to have it shipped to my house and try it on and decide if I like it or not. That's been this generation and the previous generations finding a way to shop quicker, more efficiently, in a way that they don't have to interact with people or an environment. And we've all just kind of acquiesced to it in some way. But I say all that to say, I think the biggest institution that they're disrupting, and I think it's impacting us and y'all, is education. Because we're starting to see, I don't know if Tom and Jay will see this, but I'm starting to see for the first time in my whole career, the reverse of education requirements. It used to be almost every job I had that had an education requirement. Now maybe not my park ops tech, but every recreation coordinator needed an undergrad degree or some point, and a master's.
Which I would debate that with anybody. Sure. There's a lot of gray area there.
But when I first started, you almost needed to have a rec degree. It would say recreation, PE, or some degree. Related. Right? And then it went to just degree. And now I've got a lot of my entry-level staff that have degrees, but just as many of them have the work equivalent. And me and my wife both have our undergrad and our master's. Between us, we have 4 degrees. My 4 kids have not one between them combined. None of my kids have gone to college. And so they're looking at education differently, and debt. And why am I going to go into college to do this debt? And so as someone that lives in the education world, are y'all scared shitless over the? I mean, there's had to be some sort of withdrawal in numbers, right? I mean, whether it's large or small. Yeah.
Yeah, so for us it's called the enrollment cliff. That so a lot of this came out of the Great Recession. So back in 2008, basically people did not have as many children. It just it shook everything. Where people are going from, you have three kids to now you have two, maybe you have one. But the problem is that we don't see that in 18-year-olds until 18 years later. And so we're now 18 years later from the Great Recession, and no, there's significantly fewer there's fewer 18-year-olds. Period. Right.
Yeah.
So it's one of those like it's going to hit y'all. I mean, you see it in terms of like you just don't have as many people applying for jobs. So some of that is there's fewer people, but also they don't work as much as they used to. And so it's one of those. It's kind of hitting, I think, each wave of us next. Yeah. I will say broadly across higher ed, yes, people are very, very nervous. At a place like Virginia Tech, we're not as nervous.
Yeah.
And so I think, right, like, I mean, we have the funding to build new buildings and get new dorms. And so like what we end up doing is we end up taking students like who would have gone to James Madison or Old Dominion or UNC Charlotte. Like we grab those students. We will have our enrollment, and then it's that next level down. They're the ones that are freaking out because they go, well, wait a second. Virginia Tech and Virginia and UNC and Duke can take all the best students. And it just sort of trickles down. So the places that are really closing are like really small universities, small liberal arts, small state schools that have like, it's wild to me that there's schools that have like 3,000 students. That's crazy to me because like I teach probably 1,500 students a year, and there's places that have like that many students total.
Sure.
I'd say they're freaking out. We're less nervous. Our issues are more.
But you're having to recruit them more.
Yes, yes. But it's easy to recruit. It's easy to recruit at a place like Virginia Tech or like Texas A&M. It's easy.
But it's amazing, like what I used to see they would do for athletes. Like the letter says accepted, and you post it, and it's because you got a scholarship, and Texas A&M was giving you a scholarship, and you signed with them. You're now seeing that for just an entry-level student. And the facilities that it's not just any dorm anymore. Like you have to have this dorm that's plugged in and high tech, and so you can compete. Make sure those kids don't go to James Madison. Who doesn't have the money. Right.
Yeah, the gyms are super nice, right? Those are the first things to get renovated. Classrooms don't get renovated fast. Gyms are constantly renovated. Rec fields are really popular. I think. This is at least 10 years old now, but I think Stephen F. Austin has a lazy river at their gym facility. That is, that's their attraction. Is they go come here, get a degree. Oh yeah, and just enjoy the lazy river while you're here too. So it's those sort of amenities as a recruitment tool. I will say on the sad part, it's not the education. We offer a great education, but that's not what gets it. If you look at any student who's posting about it, apparently we have like one of the top ranked dining halls in the country, and that's the selling point.
That's a draw right there.
I'm just sitting there going, it's a cafeteria, man. Like it's not,
but it's not just cafeteria. When we went to a cafeteria, it was just
true.
Right now, they got Chick-fil-A's in them.
They do. We do have Chick-fil-A's on campus, but it still tastes like a it's a seasoned cafeteria.
There you go.
It's not that different.
More salt and pepper.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
that's our fear. Our fear is like what's happening in 5 years, when it actually sort of crashes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seasoned cafeteria though to an 18-year-old is like Disney. That's a big thing.
Yes,
and I remember seeing that like when I was a freshman in college. Like I didn't have that at my fingerprints every day of just being able to like walk in and get whatever you wanted and as much as you want. That's pretty cool to a college kid.
I pick on them all the time because they all get sick in the fall and they get sick in this massive wave all at the same time. Yeah. And they complain a little bit about it. They're like, oh, it's because we're around all these people. And I go, I'm around you too, and I don't get sick. And immediately I go, it's because one, you don't wash your hands as much as you should. Like you're kind of gross. You are sharing bathrooms and gyms. Like, yes, you're not washing your hands as much as you should, and you're sharing facilities. And when was the last time you had a vegetable? Because they go in these dining halls and they're just eating pizza.
Yeah,
and they're not putting.
It is freedom.
Right, no fruits and vegetables. I go, no wonder you're sick all the time.
The freedom flu is what they got. That's hilarious.
Well, it's the interesting. It almost sounds like, and we've had these conversations about smaller universities who are just losing Parks and Rec programs, let alone an entire university,
or they're changing it to some other
tie it
customer
in
community service interact.
Physical health or whatever. Yeah. So
it almost sounds like we're trending towards a spot where we might have these super universities and the small university is going to lose out. And I know we can go deeper into that. I want to go back to something you mentioned too, Shane. You actually mentioned how, between you and Hannah, you have the 4 degrees, and then your kids, your oldest, Grace, right, is into photography.
Professional photographer. Yeah.
Okay. And so this is a whole nother fight and battle. And I don't want to, maybe it shouldn't be called a fight or a battle, but the way that these individuals of this age are attempting to make a living and earn money, earn their keep, so to speak, is way different. It is gig economy. Grace can go and do a photo shoot whenever she wants. She can set her schedule.
Yep.
I'm not going to take photos on Monday and Tuesday. I like watching football all Sunday. No chance I'm going to be doing anything on a Monday, right? Whatever that is. And I think as Parks and Rec departments, I've talked about this with Chris Nunes, we need to be obviously very aware of this because who knows? The degree pipeline is shrinking. When we have certain needs, maybe it's more common in a small department, but it probably applies to larger departments too. When we have certain needs for social media and experience with AI, photographers, whatever that is, these individuals are out there. They're ready to provide a service for whatever it is, our events and our facilities. It's not the traditional type of individual that we hire as an employee, but there's still a value there. And I don't know how that correlates with university students, because I don't know if it's something where you're getting a hybrid where it's got to be these individuals, they might be in school, but they're still on TikTok. They're still on, they're still creating content or whatever it is that they're doing. And that's got to be a challenge where you're losing some of these students, not only before they get to college, but while they're in college, they're in there and they're seeing that they can go this direction and go, versus that direction.
College is allowing non-traditional, like online classes, right? And you can almost create your own major in some capacity. It feels like you can do this generalist thing. So I think they're trying to adapt, probably better than we are in Parks and Rec as far as the hours and stuff.
Maybe there's online classes, right? I mean, it's right. We're an institution, right? This was one of the things I picked up on your last episode that I think is, I forget myself where I think we're special because we're some sort of special institution, but we're not. Like, we're a government agency too.
Yeah.
And so I would say our biggest challenge is actually it's getting student workers to work a normal 8 to 5 job. Like, our regular staff, our advisors, our fiscal managers, they are there at 8 and they leave at 5. And so if we hire a student to work in the office, the idea that they need to go to the office to do their job is very confusing to them. And that is probably that's our biggest struggle is we go, hey, we want an office assistant that we can give you assignments and tasks throughout the day as needed. And they go, okay, great, email it to me. And I'm like, no, unfortunately, we want you to sit behind this tiny little desk for 3 hours on these 3 days. So the more that we can kind of back up and say, yeah, the student who's doing social media for our department, they don't need to be in front of a desk. Like, let them do it on their own time. That helps. But man, giving up that control is so hard.
They just don't have reverence in some ways for the institutions that we did. But it also makes them more like Jay, your son, Noah, which we all love, plays poker with us. I could have never imagined playing poker with my dad's friends growing up. I would have never had the balls to ask. We sometimes set our schedule around Noah's schedule. But it makes it, but we have created, like, Tom, when you take Jack to the doctor, you might say, all right, Jack, if you're not feeling, if there's something about what you're doing or when you're interacting with your friends, tell the doctor that. We never got that as kids. Shut up, go into this doctor. They're going to move your arm up, put this here, put this tongue depressor in your throat. Don't speak to them. Like, no one asked me how I was feeling at a doctor's office when I was a kid, but now Jack has almost full responsibility to himself in that way. Like, if you didn't speak up for yourself, like if you got an itch and you don't say it, I'm not going to say it for you in some ways. Like, it's just mind blowing. And that, I think that is limited. It's made borders or walls easier to get over for them. It also gives them some lack of reverence for, in some ways, not in a bad way necessarily, but, you would think if I get a job at Virginia Tech, I'm so happy. I'll do whatever they ask. Like, I'll get there at 8 a.m. And now it's like, screw them. They wanted me to show up at 8 and just sit there and wait to be asked to make up copy. Like, it's just different. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Can we get something clear too, just before we get to the next topic? We all that we do right now, we're on Zoom. We're doing this all virtually, right? We're not. So I just wanted to clear for our listener that when Noah plays poker, this isn't. We're not talking about a group of 10 people sitting around a table with cigars.
Are you doing this for IRS purposes?
I just want to protect Jay. It's not IRS. It's Family Services. Office of Child Family Services. He's not in any danger. He's on his own screen. It's not a bad enviornment.
He did.
We're in danger. He took our money last time.
There is gambling involved, but usually it's not his.
Yeah.
What's funny is that was just 2 weeks ago, and I think like 4 days ago, he's like, "When are we playing again?" Yeah. So he's ready. For the next one.
He's a bully. Yeah. He's a monster.
That's awesome.
Let's shift gears. Let's talk about the book, Jadrian. I'm very intrigued. Without obviously knowing who our guest is, and then Shane showing us the book, I'd love to. I don't really have context, so I just would hope that you can give us a little background. What's it about, and how could it maybe potentially help people in the field?
I was super pumped with this because I told Shane that I was listening to the last episode, and I don't know if you did it on purpose. He sort of purposely dropped in that you had never seen Parks and Rec, and so I was listening to it, and I go, "This is okay." Jay, you have never seen it.
Yeah.
So wait, but before you keep going, just to be clear, Shane said this, but I was a little confused by what he said.
It was in the Disney episode.
Oh no, well what he said earlier today. Just to clarify, I thought he said the book had something to do with the actual show. So that's accurate. This is that's even better. This is
It's the show.
Sorry, Jay.
So
okay.
It was so great that he had just like offhandedly said, like, yeah, you've never even seen the show Parks and Rec. And I go, this is so good that he mentions this.
It's ongoing. Yep. It's an ongoing joke.
It's so good. So the idea behind the book. So I teach these really big classes. So I have like 600, 700 students in class. So it does not look. If you've ever been in a very big classroom, like if you went to a state university, it's one of those generic stadium tiered seating kind of environments. It is not the classic sort of stodgy old professor who stands up and just talks for an hour. Like I would lose them immediately with 600 people. And so I have always used pop culture in the classroom. So media clips, TV shows, songs, music, as much as I can, which is, I will also say, kind of fun because obviously, like, again, as I get older, they don't get the references. And it's, I could see the flip. And so I now lean into it real heavy. So if I show something old, I go, tell your parents we watched this. They're going to love it. And so they get a kick out of that. But I was watching Parks and Rec when it came out. Right. I think this is, I guess, pre-COVID. So like we all sort of watched TV each week together.
Oh, crazy, by the way.
Right,
what's that?
That's the biggest switch for my students is they only binge watch things. They don't, right? Nothing is weekly. Except for Love Island. If I taught them in the summer, then I could use that. But I was watching it. And so one of the nice things, and Shane, I can link this back to what you said earlier. Economists do believe that they have an opinion about every single thing possible. Whether we should be the ones talking about it is maybe different. But one of the nice things is that each TV show has some sort of angle that we can pluck from to use in our classroom. One of the challenges is that there's not that many great sort of funny TV shows about the environment. And we really need examples to talk about like government intervention, how the government operates, sort of both pros and cons of that. So a term called externalities, like, if you dump pollution in a river, like you're hurting other people. There's not really a lot of good shows about those topics. Most of the shows that we could use in classroom, Seinfeld, The Simpsons, sort of everyday life sort of thing. So as I was watching the show, I realized, man, this would be a great thing to use in the classroom. And so I was clipping out like little pieces. I was sitting on my computer. I don't think it's actually illegal. I think we're probably fine. But like screen recording, like little snippets of it going, oh man, this scene is great. Like, and Jay, I'm sorry I will use examples from the show, but it's super easy. There's one person who obviously loves city government, and there's one person who works for city government and hates city government. But like that debate is so important in like a principles of economics course. Like, should the government do it or should private businesses do it? And there's no other TV show that talks about those things. You're either like fully on one side or fully on the other side. So being able to use those in the classroom, super, super helpful. And then during this is a pandemic book. During the pandemic, the publishers reached out to a bunch of different people and just said, hey, we want to write a book where you teach your principles course through whatever that lens is. So I think they have books on, there's a book on Seinfeld. There's one on superheroes. I think there's one on like war movies. There's one on Broadway shows, and they all sort of sound the exact same. So Shane, you don't realize that you are going through my principles class as you're reading. Yeah, like those are the same graphs I use in my class too.
I love
so
it.
Yeah, just teaching with something that's a little bit more interesting. One of the things I found, I don't know why this is, if I teach something and I say like, here's the definition, here's an example, they all sort of nod along and they take their notes and like, yeah, okay. And then when I show it to them in a TV scene and it's the exact same thing I said, suddenly they're like, oh, this is real. And I go, why do you, I go, this is a fake TV show.
Yeah.
And somehow you believe that this is real just because they put it on TV. So no, it's been super helpful in my classroom. I don't know how many of them know the references anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I'm hitting maybe a third of them. But the nice part, like, you don't need to know the backstory. Like, I just, right beforehand, I go, this woman loves the government, this guy doesn't. That's what I need you to know about this.
They're funny. You know what I mean?
They're
You're going to get a laugh out of it. You know,
Exactly.
I use a Parks and Rec clip and these guys may know this, in most of my presentations. I've found so many that I could take and relate to, whether it's an event or whatever we're talking about. And it's a great way to get a laugh. Luckily, I would say more than 50% of the people in those rooms understand the concept. But obviously the more you go through it and as time goes, even in that setting, Parks and Rec people, it's somewhat timeless. So you can binge that and get whatever subscription you need to watch it. So I do think it's still very relevant. It's just like we talk about with our job. There's yes, we might be using AI, we might be using technology a lot, but still the same principles are technically applying. We run events, we have facilities, we create spaces for people. And so most of that show obviously is still applicable to what we do, but there is still a percentage of people when I look in the room and I'm like, man, they may not have been born. I mean, we forget how old the show is. It's not as young as I'd like to think it is. It makes me feel very old. And I'll tell you, the cover of the book now finally makes sense to me.
JJ's Diner.
Yes, the waffles. And
Chapter 4, Economic Efficiency.
Jay has no idea what we're talking about, but now the cover makes a lot of sense to me. That's
waffles.
Fantastic.
I would have loved to get waffles with whipped cream, but they obviously went with the cheapest picture of waffles that they could.
That's great.
No, for me, it's there are just a bunch of really good scenes in there that are just really, really perfect. So like when Shane and I were trying to pick the name earlier, the first I wanted to do Sebastian, little Sebastian. I was like, no, that'll give it away. And then sort of my second favorite sort of episode that's about teaching is whenever she's trying to do the soda taxes, which is just such a great topic for my students to talk about. Mostly because so I was at Penn State before, and Philadelphia had passed the soda tax, and so it was just so perfect to be able to talk about like why this is happening and things like that. But even now that I live in Virginia, it's they get all these things from DC and like what the DC area is doing and should we have these taxes or not. And so to be able to pull out sort of a funny version of it, to say like, look at this giant child-sized soda, should we tax that? And they'll all say yes. And then talk about just sort of taxing coffee, taxing sodas, taxing bakery items. It's such a easy, funny way into something where their natural gut reaction is like, no, we should not pay taxes, because like they at 18 have some very strong opinions about things they don't fully understand.
Yeah.
And so it's weird how strong their opinions are. Bringing in a funny way to do it it's much easier to go, here's the purpose. Like, let's talk about if this is the right way to do it or not.
To that point, I think you can red pill or blue pill yourself depending on what you're watching on social media, and your social media algorithm's only going to feed you more of that thing. And so I would imagine kids come into a situation because they've watched something on social media, whether it's absolutely true or not, that they heard it on social media, and they heard some chiropractor talking about seed oil, which they have no experience in, but they think that they are in the health profession, so they got to know, and they have to believe everything they're telling them to be true. None of these people are bad actors. Do you spend a lot of your time in the context of government or taxes trying to explain what a tax does, like roadways and infrastructure. Like, it's not just this, your liberties aren't being stolen from you with this, tax. It's actually funding something that actually it funds the street that you drive on every day. It funds the police that take care of you. It funds the people that come out and take care of you if you get in a car wreck. And do they really grasp that at that age?
That's two different questions, Shane. Yes, I do it. Do they some of them do, right? I think some of them go, oh, wait a second, hold on, I understand. So like one of the examples I always do it in class, and I call it my public service to the students. It's not, I don't need to teach the topic, but I feel so strongly about teaching the topic that I do it even though it feels weird. They don't understand marginal tax rates. And it is so fascinating that they have this belief that like as they earn more money, they pay more in taxes. And when they have this weird idea of like moving up to a tax bracket means they suddenly like have less money. And I go, that's not how that works, like at all. You will pay a higher tax rate and you will pay more in taxes, but you don't like lose your earlier money. But they'll have these sort of weird beliefs about things, or even, I mean, the biggest one that we've had to do over the past few years is like tariffs. There's these sort of moments where things happen and I go, crap, this is in my class. Like, I'm going to have to talk about this. And to talk about just like why tariffs are probably not a good idea on most things. And like, but being able to say like, here are examples where tariffs are a good thing. Like, yes, it's fine to do it here. It doesn't make sense to do it on like avocados. We can't grow that. We can't grow enough avocados to feed all of your desires for avocados.
Right.
And so it's those sorts of back and forth that, I think some of them, they'll at least listen to it. I don't think they are actively fighting against it. One of the examples we do is price ceilings. So the idea that, rent might be too high. Maybe the government should come in and cap the price of rent so that people can afford to live. And I'll walk them through sort of the theory of it. And, I go, how many of you think tuition is too high? Maybe the government should come in and cap tuition. I go, how many of you think your apartments in Blacksburg are too high? Yeah, okay, we should cap it. And we go through the process and we will talk about sort of all the bad things that could happen of, okay, if you cap rent, then like landlords are not going to want to build new apartments. I want to build apartments because they're expensive. I don't want to build apartments if they're cheap.
Right.
Virginia, a university does not want to admit more students because it's cheaper. They want to admit students when they're really expensive. But I have found that there are some things I just can't get past it. I'll go through the part of saying, if we had a cap on tuition, some of you would not be here. We would have smaller classrooms instead. There'd be fewer apartments. The problem is they don't think they would be the ones that are kicked out of the equation. They're like, well, I would still get it and it's cheaper, so we should still do it. And I go, you completely missed the point of this. Yeah, it's random. Like, you don't know if you're the one. And so they're a little, I would say, they're ready to take the risk of possibly being the one removed if it means they could get something cheaper. So no, there's some of these weird outcomes that I can't get them to accept. So it keeps happening.
They probably come in with some hard earned, probably isn't the right word, but vanguarded biases that you really are having a tough shell to crack in some ways, I guess.
But I think you said it really well in the algorithm part. There's a certain narrative, like one that I pick up on a lot, is that the economy is like the worst that it's ever been, and people are 50 years ago it was so easy, and today is everybody is poor and struggling. Like, there's definitely people struggling. Like, absolutely, people are struggling. But we have access to so much more technology, food that didn't exist in the 80s. Like, food was seasonal in the 80s. Like, you only got certain foods at certain time. You can get a lemon all year long. Yeah. It's like there's these like weird little things. And the best answer that like we have internally is that me saying things are not that bad, that doesn't get views, that doesn't get shown up. Instead, they want to talk about like all the bad things that are happening. Yeah. That gets played over and over and over. And so there is this sort of like misery loves company, I guess, side of things that is a little bit harder.
It's like a misery it's a vacuum. It's
a vacuum. And right, like I can't go past that. Like, one of the ones that I see that always is so weird to me is like they have a very strong aversion to debt. They are so scared of just being crippled by debt that they don't touch it at all. I have so many students who are afraid to take student loans, like they don't have any credit cards. And I'm just sitting there going like, you need a credit score. Like, you want to live in New York after you're done, you need a credit score. if you want to go back home and live in a suburban area, like you're probably fine.
Right.
But like if you want to move to DC, like they're not going to rent to you if you don't have a credit score. You really need to
prove
think about
that
how to do this. Like
Yeah.
you need to prove that you're trustworthy. But like it's so weird. It's like straight fear. Like you can almost see it in their eyes. Like, no, I don't want to do it. What if I can't pay it back?
So I have a theory on this, and you
Okay.
tell me if this seems accurate or way off to the left. But we are all of us, I would assume, are the primary candidates that were in the big wave of when college debt became huge. And I don't know, I can't speak to before my time, but I believe that we talk about those generations. We're the college boom. When we were in college in the for me, the early 2000s, for Shane in 1985.
Careful.
All right. So when we were in college in the early 2000s, I'm going to guess that was the peak time for enrollment numbers, maybe somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah. And we were the ones that experienced the debt because most of our parents, and I'm speaking from my personal experience, didn't go to college. And yet it was still really highly pushed on us when we were in high school. Like, you got to go to college, and it's all good stuff. And you're the first in your family to graduate and get a degree and all these great things. We were at the pinnacle of all of that. And I do feel that there's a lot of parents that are in our range that are telling their kids, don't go into debt over college. Don't go into debt over college. And maybe I'm totally off base on that, but how would they have this? Why would they have this preconceived mindset to not have any debt?
I've seen some of these on TikTok where some of it is not understanding how like interest rates work. So some of it is I will fully say financial illiteracy. You'll hear people talk about how they take a certain amount of debt and then suddenly like they owe more money. And then what they don't tell you is that they're only paying the minimum or they're not making payments. And they don't have this idea that like it grows, that debt can grow. A lot of them, I think, I'll take $60,000 for college, and then suddenly they find out that they graduate and they owe $90,000. I think a lot of them really believe if I borrow 60, I owe 60, and that like they're missing that interest rate part. So
that makes it even worse.
It's confusing. I probably blame. I mean, I blame a lot of us. Like I see it with my students who, they come to me and I ask, well, what do you want to do after graduation? And the answers are almost always, I want to work in accounting or finance or something like that. I go, do you like those things? And they go, not really, no. I don't want to work in a corporate setting. I go, why are you doing it? And the answer is almost always either one of my parents does it, or that's what my parents told me I had to do.
Yeah.
And so I think some of it is, post Great Recession, we were so scared of kids getting a degree that wasn't going to get them a job. We saw out of the recession, you need to have a good job that's stable. And I think even the pandemic was probably the same, that the pandemic, people like me, I was fine because I got to work online versus other jobs got crushed. And so, I think some of it's probably, realistically, it's probably all our faults telling our kids that they need to be careful. But no, I wouldn't even really call it misinformation. They just have these strong opinions, and I'm not the one that's convincing them otherwise.
Yeah.
And sure. I don't know how many more classes they need to take before they feel comfortable. I've always sort of said the best way to learn about debt is you need to miss a credit card payment. That's what got me. That's what I straightened up. I straightened up real fast. My first credit card, I think, had a $500 cap, and I missed one payment and had to owe like $50 or something. It was small. In hindsight, it was very big when it happened. But I missed that payment, and I have never missed a payment since. I was like, you are not going to take more money away from me in the process. But they're not even getting that experience.
Yeah, I think learning from all that. Me and Hannah one time did our taxes, and we didn't claim something right.
You forgot one. I did that a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Are you supposed to pay these things? And a couple years later, they came back and said, and the tax what if we'd have paid it, it was this. The fees and penalties were this, and it was like, holy shit! Like we got to pay this off in payments now. Yeah.
I go, if you had told me about this 3 years ago, I would have paid it. Like, I wasn't avoiding it. I forgot.
And that's a whole different thing. Just paying your taxes is crazy. Like the hoops you jump through. Well, if you're somewhat familiar with it all, we go to round robin at some point in this process, and we're getting there now. So we just try to do some quick hitters here. And it sounds like you were in Pennsylvania, right, for a while. Our national conference is in Philly. Did you ever get? Oh wow. Okay.
I'm a Pittsburgh person. I picked that side real fast.
So I was going to ask if you have any recommendations for Philly. It sounds like your recommendation is to go to Pittsburgh.
Stay away from Philly.
Yeah, get out as fast as you can.
Surely there was something you had food. No, not a thing.
No.
Wow.
I can even tell you if you're. Oh yeah, this might be my Texas showing. I was so pumped the first time I was going to get a cheesesteak. I was so excited because
it was a disappointment.
Oh my God, was I disappointed?
Interesting.
Okay, this is gonna sound so bad, but this is gonna. Maybe I'm just a slob. I expected more cheese on a cheesesteak. They are steak sandwiches with cheese, and the versions I used to get had a lot of cheese on it, and so I was expecting a very cheesy cheesesteak. So I was disappointed with that. No, I can give you a real recommendation. Terminal Market is like their big farmers market sort of place. Absolutely go to that. It's a ton of fun. They've got really good food. There's things that are fine. People from Philly are just kind of mean. I'm used to Southern hospitality. They're a little gruff.
So I'll piggyback off that question. Pittsburgh. So you're preferring Pittsburgh. And obviously, I know the answer to this question of one or the other that you prefer, so I'm not going to ask that. But
okay,
I've had the Pamani Brothers sandwich, and I recreate that at home all the time. Yeah. I love sandwiches, the pastrami or corned beef with coleslaw and the rye, and it's an amazing French fries on the sandwich. It's such a great creation. Are you a fan?
Absolutely. So they have one called When Pigs Fly. That's the best one. I think it has turkey, ham, bacon, a fried egg on it, coleslaw, tomato. It's stacked. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, they sell those at the PNC Park, the Pittsburgh's Pittsburgh Pirates Stadium,
which I hear is beautiful,
which is cool. Oh, it's beautiful.
Actually, I hear Pittsburgh's underrated.
One of the best underrated baseball fields. You can overview. You have a great view. Yeah, it's a beautiful field.
Of all the baseball stadiums I've ever been to, PNC Park is my top choice. The view of that is absolutely amazing.
Gorgeous.
To be fair, I've skipped a bunch. So I have purposely skipped Chicago. I haven't gone to the Cubs. I want to see a game, and so I'm not just going to hang out at those. St. Louis is also really good too. St. Louis, if you sit in the right spot, you can see the arch in the outfield. Cool. PNC definitely the best. I think the best ballpark. I have a Pittsburgh sign actually up on my wall. That's what I was looking at as soon as you said that. Yeah, no, I'm a big Pittsburgh fan. Pierogies are great. They've got a great it's called Icy Light. They've got their version of a little local thing you can't get anywhere else. I love it.
You think it's too late for us to get an RPA just to pivot to Pittsburgh? Maybe we have the clout. We could just get it moved.
That's funny. I do agree. Pittsburgh is an underrated city. I've spent many times there.
Yeah, you hear steel curtain and cold weather, and if you've never been, especially from someone from the South, you think this one thing, but I hear it's beautiful, underrated, walkable. Yeah, a lot of it.
It's very Midwestern. So that's really the split. Is that right? Philly is much more like New Jersey, New York, Baltimore, that space. Pittsburgh is much more like Cleveland, Cincinnati, all that stuff on that side. So it's more of a Midwestern sort of city.
Gotcha. Jay, what you got?
So, Virginia Tech.
Yes.
I live in Charlotte. There's a lot of folks that went to Virginia Tech that live in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it on TV. I've heard from people that go to the games. How is that introduction during a football game? Is the stadium truly shaking? Does it make you feel like it's going to – yeah? Okay.
It's electric. It truly it gives me chills anytime I do it. Anytime I see it, or if I'm there, even if I'm not at the game. So where I live maybe 10 minutes away, but my view is actually I live on top of a mountain, so I can sort of see down into town.
Okay.
Economics paying well, guys.
Listen, it's the Blue Ridge Mountains. There's mountains everywhere, right? I don't live at the.
Okay.
It's all mountains over here.
Just to set the stage, for those that don't know, before every single Virginia Tech football game, they play Enter Sandman. Yep. And everyone is just jumping and going crazy. And it's an amazing scene to see if you've never seen it.
It is.
It sounds awesome.
I think it's usually ranked as one of the top 2 or 3, I think, college football entrances. No, so the first one actually I got when I moved here, they talked about restarting this rivalry, but West Virginia came and played Virginia Tech. And so they hadn't played each other, I think, maybe in a decade or something. And so that one was even bigger. So it is definitely depends on who the opponent is.
Okay.
But the very big games, the stadium is full. It's dark outside. They've got fireworks going off.
Yeah.
It is actually as good as it seems. But
when you say it's
10 minutes away, you can hear them jump. Like you could
That's
hear the
crazy.
fireworks and the cannons and stuff.
Yeah, when you say it's full, it's 90,000 people or whatever the number is. I mean,
No,
it's
yeah, a little low.
massive.
Yeah, I think it's 70. I want to say it's like 78 or 80.
Okay.
It's not like it's not Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State, but there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
But bigger than most NFL and like Premier League soccer stadiums, bigger than all of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of students in there, and it's sort of the way the stadium is set up is they've got a lot of for the student side, they got a lot of bleachers. And so that's what also makes it loud is they're jumping up and down on the bleachers. So the big thing actually that I did not do this, I was not willing to pay for it. Last year, maybe the year before, they actually AC/DC came and or Metallica came and actually played a concert along their route. They did it in Blacksburg, so that was the only college stadium they played in. They did NFL stadiums for the rest of it, and they teased the students a little bit. So like they started to play the beginning of Enter Sandman, and they said, "No, you're gonna have to wait through the rest of the show." And so then they closed out the show with it.
Oh,
and
that had to be electric.
Same thing. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if Metallica gets money for
How about they do
for the entrance on there, but. Anyway,
some sort of royalties.
I
bet an economist could tell us.
They don't really need the money. I think.
No, they don't.
They don't need the eight times a year payout.
So I know it's probably Shane's turn, but I'll just go in real quick. So I see some figures in the background on your workspace there. I see a soccer Mickey. I see a couple, looks like Bucky up at the top. I see Bucky at the top, a couple mascots and soccer Mickey. I was curious as to the background of the soccer Mickey.
A girlfriend gave it to me probably in high school, and I've kept it the whole time. It is not a love of Disney. I'm sorry.
He was hoping.
It's okay.
It was a girlfriend loved Disney. I loved soccer, and so it was a combination that way. Yeah.
And what are the two mascots?
Sam Houston State. So I got a Sammy the Bearcat.
Bearcats. Yep.
Okay.
This is one of those perks of traveling to all these stadiums. Sometimes I show up on giveaway nights.
Bobblehead
I'm pretty sure that this is a Delaware Blue Rock mascot. It was just one of the giveaways
Blue
that they were
Hens,
doing.
right? Aren't they the blue?
That's the college team. The baseball team is, I think, the blue. It's called Blue Rock. It says Blue Rocks on it.
Cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's a giveaway. I would say I think I have another.
There's a couple others.
I have to move, right? These are the Penn State ones. I think there might be see if there's. I don't know if I can move out of the way. It's stupid junk I get from visiting stadiums. So I love visiting the stadiums. I tell people I get to drink outside in public. Like it's a ton of fun to go to stadiums. The absolute worst part of this is every one that I go to, I'm on their mailing list. And so I hit unsubscribe as much as I can, but I get emails and I know that they're just doing their job, but they're like, do you want to come back to a Brooklyn Cyclone game next year? And I go, just use
TDog42 at hotmail.com or whatever.
No, because I got to get the tickets, right? I need those actual tickets.
That's right. Yeah, I guess you're right. You've done the stadium tours. 251 that you're trying to get to. What is the best stadium and the worst stadium experience you have experienced so far?
Okay, so I will also narrow this down. I go to football, baseball, soccer. Do you want to combine them all together, or do you want to which batch?
Only one of us cares about soccer.
So. Well, two of us, Jadrian does too. We'll do football.
Fair, like a lot of these soccer ones are Major League Soccer ones, so the environment's not that great.
Let's do football.
Yeah, so I'll say the worst experiences are always NFL games. So like I'm not going to count that. They're just boring. They're big and boring and sort of dry. So I'll say that's my easy cop out is an NFL game is probably the worst. If I had to pick a college experience that was bad, I went to Rutgers. That was awful. It's just sort of I was really
the fans aren't into it. The kids aren't into it. Yeah.
No, it was a Big Ten game. It was Rutgers versus Illinois, I think. Nobody was there. It's so historic that they played the first college football game. They have this long history, and their stadium is it's sunk into the ground, kind of boring. No one's there. They don't care. I would say my most disappointing, mostly because it's a Big Ten stadium, and it had a worse environment than like Sam Houston has a better environment than that. Coolest environment, very easy. I went to an Army game at West Point. That was the coolest experience. I was so nervous because I didn't know how to do it. So I went up to West Point, went into the stadium, and of course, like there's guards everywhere, there's guns. It's an actual military base. And so there's somebody at the gate. They're like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I'm here for the football game." And they go, "Okay, cool, follow along." But there's just cadets with guns standing along the roads so that you don't go into the rest of the military base because they need you to just go to the football stadium. But what was so cool is, you'd go to a normal game and they have flyovers from normal jets, but they're doing flyovers with like Apache helicopters. And so it's set up, they've got this like lake, and the view of the stadium is really nice. Like that part of New York is super pretty. But it was this really sort of, I felt out of place because like there's regular alumni, but obviously like everyone is in military garb. Well, I guess the students are in military garb, and then they're just doing different military things. So that was my coolest experience because it was just so different.
Well, let's piggyback off that question a little bit. And you've been to so many, you've traveled to probably some cool cities. What was a underrated city that you fell in love with that you didn't realize had everything it had to offer?
I mean, I will say Pittsburgh because I said this before. I had not been to Pittsburgh until I moved to Pennsylvania. But I'll do a second one that's not. I won't give Pittsburgh as the answer. Underrated city, Omaha. I had used to pick on Omaha a lot. Like I don't know why anybody would want to live in the middle of Nebraska. Like I don't get it. And then I went. I have some friends who work in Nebraska. They work in Nebraska, Omaha, and so I went and visited them and went to a baseball stadium there. It's a cool little baseball stadium. It shares like a soccer field, but like the city itself was actually really, really cool. I was surprised with it.
Okay.
So if I had to pick underrated city, Omaha. Well, Pittsburgh, and then I'll go Omaha. Yeah, Pittsburgh. I feel is they have an NFL team, so I feel like I had to pick something that doesn't have an NFL team.
Fair.
Well, you're a podcast host, and we're podcasters, and
Yes.
To kind of wrap up my last round robin question, is there any questions that you would have for us?
These are feels like the news interviews.
Yeah.
Instead. No, I love the way that y'all do this. Like, so the podcast that I do with my friend, we started. It's so fun. I do have the questions. I promise it's coming. We started it not knowing what we were doing. We were just like, we want to talk, and it has morphed into something else.
Same.
So I'm curious.
Yeah.
That's where I was going to go with this question: is what is something from your first season that you did, and you look back and you go, why did we do that? That was so dumb. Like, was there like a segment that you did, or something you tried to do, and you're like, thank God we stopped doing that?
Yeah, I think all of us will have a different perspective on that, Jay.
I don't know if I would say a segment. I think it's just like it flows so much better now. I think we have an understanding of like what's the order and how to mesh it all together versus just like I know, at least from my take, the first season was just like, okay, when do I speak? When do you speak? Is it, I don't want to interrupt you, but it's just like it was natural, and it's become more natural, and it flows so much better now than it used to.
I think for me, we didn't know what we were doing, but I think we were not holding on in some ways, but trying to control how it came out or how we projected or how the questions were projected. And we just now, to all of our credits, have understood that it's just a thing and people like the way we do it. And it's this free flowing conversation. And
Yeah.
I think we're less guarded. I think we're less worried about how we're going to be perceived or how it's going to project if we ask a question. It's now just this free flowing conversation. And I think it was much more forced in moments in season one from us at times.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have much to add. I mean, we haven't changed the format much at all. We've found that it was pretty successful, even these round robins. We've done a couple games in the middle of some of those round robins, but we've kind of stuck with that. And
let me change.
Really,
all of Tom's games, I'd get rid of all those. That's what we did wrong in season.
I mean, but that wasn't season one. So, that was trying to. So, I think the message I have as a quote unquote podcaster, as I've told Shane before, I'm not a podcaster.
He's not. That's what he says.
But is just to not take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
It's very similar to what these guys said, but more concise, and we're just three guys talking to a guest.
You're not more concise in anything.
We switched to just a more casual conversation, and it helped so much.
Yeah.
And but the weirdest thing is, like, we were at a conference once, and we were just sitting like at a table talking, and some random person like stopped by, and they go, I recognize your voice. You are
Isn't
on the
that crazy?
podcast I listen." And I'm
Isn't
like,
that crazy?
how?
Yeah.
Like, how did
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
neat.
think my voice sounds that unique, but like they had listened to like every episode for the whatever 4 seasons we've done. And I had no idea how to respond because I've never been on that like
Sure.
that side of the thing. So I guess I don't know. Maybe that's my other question. I'll give you two since y'all asked me
Okay.
to. Have you been recognized at your conference? Voice wise, not name wise. So has somebody heard your voice and go, I recognize that voice?
If they recognize the voice, that's not what they led with. But I have had people say, I'm a huge fan. Like I literally just, the city of Richardson had us on talking to them because we run goats through our city as a part of a poison abatement and fire abatement. And so they hopped on. And the last thing, this is an old school park ops guy, assistant director. Last thing he said was, as I was hopping off the call, he's like, I listen to your podcast. I love it. You're doing great things. Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is awesome. I don't think we ever get tired of it. I don't think we always know the appropriate response to it
I
either.
haven't figured out the response yet.
No.
But it's cool that people care about it, listen to it, that it impacts them some way, and that, we continue to get to do this for sure.
I can help for you. If you get that thing, you say, you shouldn't have told me that. Now I'm going to have to ask you to be a guest on the show.
There you go.
And then it does make them, it tends to make them feel really good. Unfortunately, I do forget who the person is that usually told me that. But you at least have a pipeline of people who might be a guest in the future.
There you go.
I like to threaten them on air too. I go, I met somebody, and if they're listening, just know
You're
I
in
haven't
trouble.
forgotten.
I'm
You're in
coming
trouble.
for you.
You're going to be a guest. Wait for an email. That's a ton of fun to do.
That's funny, and I wonder how people would react because some people get a little nervous. I've had people that I've asked to be a guest that don't want to be a guest, and that's just not their scene. So to add to that, I don't know that anybody is. I've been talking to someone and someone heard my voice with their back turned and whatnot, but I will say that there are people who have sent us emails that have said like, your voice is in your voices are in our heads because they're listening, and so we've heard that digitally more or less, and then face recognition. One thing is, because we're clearly very vain people, we took the idea from Smartless with Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes, and their logo, or whatever you want to call it, their image is their three faces. So when we made this podcast in that image, that's how we did it. So we aren't even a video recorded podcast. It's all audio, but our facial recognition certainly at a conference has come into play.
Yeah, man. Jadrian, this was great. I think we say it all the time. I'm fascinated by asking you questions and like just seeing a different perspective. It would have been fun to continue this longer, but I really appreciate you coming on, stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit.
One very quick question for you. Do you know the name Dr. Lal Catlett?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I had to Google this. So every year we go to the NRPA conference and it's grown and grown. Now there's, almost 10,000 people that go. There's always a keynote speaker. To this day, I've been almost 20 years straight to this conference. My all-time favorite keynote speaker was, I see Shane's face.
Was that the guy that had to fill in for the actor that left us hanging last minute?
I don't know that. He was
in LA.
He was in Anaheim.
So Anaheim was supposed to be the Adrian Brody from Entourage, and he left NRPA dry at the last second, and they found an economist to come in and present.
So he was an economist, and I to this day, they've brought in some big names, but to this day, that was my favorite keynote we've ever had, and I just didn't know if you would know that name. He's a professor. I just found him. He's a professor at New Mexico State University. But he
shot from the hip the whole time.
Awesome.
He was hilarious. Absolutely.
This is one of the perks I think of professors is we get paid to talk to audiences.
Right.
We have no. It freaks people out every time somebody asks me to give a talk because they assume that I'm going to be nervous, and I go, you just tell me how long you want me to talk, and I will fill space. I can do however long you need me to talk.
Yeah.
Love it.
But it's on YouTube, so you can look for it. But
I did. I Googled him. I saved him off on the side.
Okay.
Love it. I really appreciate the time, and this was fascinating. Well, you know what? Since Jay asked one more question, I'm going to ask one more. And I'm going to lead the witness here as a former but probably still homesick Texan. Have you found any food anywhere else in the country collectively that's better than Texan food? No, he said no. He can't cut it out. Maybe everyone didn't hear it.
No. My students ask me this question all the time. Living in Virginia is much better than living in Pennsylvania. I struggled living in Pennsylvania. It was so bland. But like my honest answer is no.
Perfect.
Even my girlfriend's from Pennsylvania, and we went to I took her to Texas, and she was blown away. We rolled up to a random donut place that just said donuts on the top, and I go, "These are going to be better than any donuts you've ever tasted." I go, "I've never even been in here."
Absolutely.
She blown away, right? She had a kolache, and she goes, "Oh my God, what is this?" I go, "This isn't even the best one." I'm picking random places.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously think the barbecue is better. I think Tex-Mex is better than California Mexican food. So I grew up outside of Beaumont, and so I'm used to Cajun food. And so I do believe Southeast Texas, if I want to get real specific, Houston, Southeast Texas has the best cuisine collectively because you get decent barbecue, but you get Tex-Mex and you get Cajun.
Second time we've heard that. Rich DePalma said the same thing.
If I had to pick anything that's close, I would say New Orleans. Obviously, Louisiana. I love po' boys. I love Cajun food. Yeah. You get enough spillover, and you get seafood. You get very good seafood out of that spot too. So if I had to pick anything that's a close second, New Orleans would be number 2.
Man, we gotta hang out with Jadrian when it comes to food.
That's right.
Listen, you just got to be in Houston. You get a little bit of everything, and that's probably. I'm a big food guy. I eat a lot. Everywhere I go, I gain weight.
Next year, NRPA this year, our national conference in Philly. Next year, it's in Houston. So maybe we can get you out there.
Just be prepared. I'm always happy to go. Our conference, actually, we have a conference coming up over Thanksgiving break, and it's in Houston. And I am so nervous but excited. I gain so much weight if we ever go to Houston or New Orleans. I will eat the worst food for 4 days straight, every single meal. I'm squeezing in like snacks that are not good for me.
That should be Houston's thing: is bring your fat pants. Welcome to Houston, something like that.
Good
Thank
stuff.
you so much for the time. This has been great. We really appreciate it. All right. See you next time.
Take care. Nice to meet you, Jadrian.
Bye.
Awesome.
That was fun, man.
Yeah, that was fun. It
was
good.
It was a swing for sure, but I think it was, Traps did a director summit with the Hill Country thing, and we had RecTech, who's a proud sponsor of this group, and some of the stuff we do had some people in that director summit that weren't Parks and Rec people. They were talking about Whole Foods and Mill and some of these other things, and it was just an elevated conversation that we got to be a part of. And I think elevated conversations are interesting and important, and you sometimes get to pull things from it and still apply it to our spaces. And I think I am happy and relieved that it worked out, because it was definitely a swing. When I first reached out to him, he was like, I wrote a Parks and Rec book about the show, not the industry. And I was like, I get it, but I think you'll be great. And he had a podcast and obviously well-spoken, and had a great pulse on what teens are going through currently and the next generation of folks. And I enjoyed it.
To go in a different direction, mix it up. I mean, there's still going to be relative points. I think there's, especially when we're trying to talk about the connection to younger generations all these different things with time management and, just awareness and trying to get, whether it's on the scheduling perspective or trying to figure out the best way to connect with people. Like that's, he's got to do it as a professor. We got to do it as professionals.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And any of the folks that are out there that are parents of kids that are teen or preteen like JU right now, I think the conversation's fascinating, because it's kind of either it's your kids' current generation and they're the back end of that group, that 10 or 15 year generation, or they're the front end of that following year. And how are they going to interact with education and government? I just think it's fascinating.
Yeah. Good times, man.
I really enjoyed that one.
Well, we have a break next week, and then it's Jay. Jay, you want to just tell us who it is?
Sure. Ready?
Yeah. Break. All right, boys.
Oh, he muted himself, and then he said it.
Shane didn't notice that my lips were moving, but I muted myself.
I wonder if I can get a lip reader in here.
Yeah.
Tom is smart, and he actually was paying attention.
Shane doesn't pay attention to anything.
No,
for sure.
Well, until next time, boys. See ya.
See you, everyone.
Later.
Here at RecLess, we love to give back to the community that we're so passionate about. We do that by providing scholarships to professionals to attend conferences they may not otherwise be able to attend. That's where you come in, sponsorships. If you are interested in a sponsorship, we'd love to connect with you. So this spot could be yours. Contact us today at recklesspod@gmail.com or check us out at recklesspod.com for more details.
This episode of RecLess wouldn't have been possible without the support of our agencies and our better halves, Melissa Salatino, Lindsay Tryon, and our executive producer, Hannah Mize. We also want to thank our director of hashtags and swag, Rooney Taylor, and our team of junior producers, Luke, James, Elizabeth, Grant, and Harper. Stay up to date on all things RecLess by following all of our social media and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to ensure you don't miss an episode. See you next time on RecLess.